If you ever wondered what Remnant from the Ashes is, most probably you came across two options. Oh, it's just a Dark Souls with guns. Or, oh, it's just another looter shooter. And though it's a little close to the base, it's actually completely wrong. You see, Remnant does have elements of those games. But calling it a rip-off, it's pretty much the same as calling the Porsche a rip-off, just because Ford already made a car. Okay, but let's start from the beginning.
Long ago in a distant land.
Vigil Games, that are famous for their Darksiders game series, found that their main company THQ is filing for bankruptcy. But David Adams received a call from Crytek, asking him to help with establishing a brand new Crytek USA, where they start working on a little game named Hunt Horrors of the Gilded Age. But then Crytek also had some financial issues, and now Crytek USA is dying. And since there were no other investors, David decided to make his own company and called it Gunfire Games. And later it was acquired by THQ. Oh, again. It was done because THQ got all the rights for Darksiders series, but the Gunfire Games got all the talent to make another Darksiders game. But wait, they still got the early version of Hunt. They couldn't use it because all rights for the Hunt franchise left with the Crytek, but they could still change it a little and make a new game. Initially it was announced in 2018, and nobody cared, like at all. But later it was announced that this game is a hidden gem, or at least that's how the story goes, cause Remnant received fairly positive feedback and overall around 3 million copies were sold, which does look decent for an unrated game. You start the game by creating a character for yourself. There are quite a few options, but I wouldn't say it's really important, as most of the armor in the game will cover your character completely, so it wouldn't matter if you're black or white. Obviously we're going to make a grandpa. Why? Why not? Grandpas are awesome. After that, the cutscene starts, to provide you with some exposition. Something something, please find our lost warrior to save the world. Waking up in one piece, may I add, the game tutorial starts. You have your trusted sword beside you, so that should help. After dealing with a few rude fellas, you find a man defending himself with a pistol. So, as a true hero, you decided to wait till he's dead, so you could loot him freely, but you are rudely interrupted by another wave of enemies. Second fake death? It's been only like, what, 5 minutes? Anyway, you are saved and delivered to Ward 13, the last bastion for humankind, and a hub world for you. Here you will upgrade your weapons, buy and sell materials, and communicate with most NPCs. And your very first quest is to restore power in the basement. There you will find Ace, who is willing to help you to start the reactor. Now you need to pick your class. At first, it does look like a classic lock of abilities between certain classes, but in reality it's just to decide which traits, mode and gear you will receive. Later on you will be able to find all of them. Anyway, and reactor started! Last NPC to talk with is Reggie, and he will give you a dragon heart. This is your Estus flask. Few more dialogues and finally you are on your quest. Main source of interaction with the world outside is this huge crystal. It will allow you to teleport to action and back to Ward 13. Once you finish the game, you can also reroll the whole campaign with it, and lastly it will heal you, remove all debuffs and recharge your modes. Your first world is obviously Earth, and this looks very familiar to Darksiders. Ruined cities, broken cars and root soldiers roaming around aimlessly. But even though this game does look like an open world, it's actually quite linear. You can wander around and it would be actually very helpful for you, as you could find more materials for upgrades or even straight up new weapons or trinkets. But overall layout of the maps are always the same. You start on one map, you find a dungeon passage to the second map, where you will find a final boss to the world. There are also sub-dungeons, like a lot. You can ignore them if you wish, but if you want to avoid battle, why do you play Remnant in the first place? Dungeons are even more straightforward than the world above, and could be quite challenging at times. You have a save point at the beginning, and if you fail, you would need to start over. Enemies will respawn and you would need to kill them again, but at least you wouldn't lose anything upon dying. Yep, you don't lose experience, scrap, or ammo. You don't even receive debuffs or penalties for a death. But trust me, that doesn't mean that will be easy. You see, dungeon can be absolutely manageable at one point, at the very next second turned into a bloodbath, with you being the main star. In the meantime, I reached the first boss. Oh shit, it's Gorefist. I knew some people who dropped this game purely because of this guy. He is big, he hits like a truck, and worst of all, he got help from those explosive asses. You need to pay attention and dodge Gorefist, or he will fist you real hard. But you cannot pay attention to him because of all explosive asses running to you. But you cannot concentrate on explosive asses because you need to see where you're trying to roll. But you cannot look where you're trying to roll because you're dead. Once he was defeated, I received the flesh bar. So now I can take it back to Ward 13 and create myself a new mode, Metal of Thorns, which is perfect for melee builds. Or at least melee bosses, I guess. Later I found a Root Mother.
It's you.
And you need to protect her from the swarm of enemies. The hardest part of this battle is that Root is actually not that interested in killing you as to get to its juicy mama on her wheelchair. Usually that's the part where all hardcore runs on higher difficulty ends. Oh yeah, this game comes with the difficulty settings, but it is chosen at the beginning of your journey, so technically you can change it, but for that you will need to re-roll the whole campaign, meaning you need to start over. Saving Root Mother, I looked inside the church and found one of the best weapons in the game, Sniper Rifle. It pretty much one-shots every regular Root Soldier, especially in the head. But unless your enemy does have specific weak spot, the rifle can struggle a little. Back at the Ward 13, Root Mother will tell you to slay Root Beast. Additionally, now she can upgrade your Dragon Heart, but to do so you would need to find Simulacrum, which you can find anywhere in the world, randomly of course. Next dungeon boss is Shrike. He's a range boss with a special attack of bombardment, which does sound unfair, but if I keep moving he never hits me. And to stop me from constantly moving, Shrike does have a bunch of Root Soldiers. I guess you can see the button already. That was one of the most criticized part of Remnant. Addition of small mobs helping the boss, forcing you to juggle multiple tasks all at once. In reality, they should help you as well, since they would drop additional ammunition. So even if you miss every shot, you would still have enough ammunition to kill the boss. Gunfire Studio promised to reduce the number or even completely remove helping mobs in the next game, but we'll see. Anyway, having a sniper rifle makes this fight super easy. As a reward I get a Shade Wood, and from it I created a new mod, Rattleweed, which actually came out perfect for the boss of this realm. Ant is a huge tree. He's not as easily defeated with the sniper rifle as Shrike. He has a huge radius attack around him, so melee or shotgun is out of the question, at least for now, and he also have a lot of explosive asses helping him. After hitting the second stage, he will start bombarding you with the spore bombs, and this is when Rattleweed can help you a lot by capturing eyes of at least explosive asses and fluffy guys, so you can freely avoid bombardment. From the end, you will receive Spore Gland, and you can use it to create the most powerful shotgun in the game, at least per one shot. Right behind the end, you will find the entrance to Labyrinth, a huge webway between worlds, where you will need to find Ford. And that's the best concept you could think of, as now, any setting in any world would still fit in the game.
This is the maximum help I can provide at the moment.
Next realm is Rhom. No, not this kind of Rhom. It's sandy, it's hot, and Arabic music is playing, so it's kinda like a Germany. This time enemies are more or less human-like, and they will attack you with pointy sticks. Sometimes they even attack you with a pointy stick with a dynamite taped to it. The very first dungeon was guarded by lost souls, and my god, they could be hard to deal with. On their own, one lost soul is nothing special, but they can easily overwhelm you with numbers. At the end, it turns out that this is not a dungeon with a boss. It's a storage room and I don't have any keys, and later I completely forgot about it. So while I was looking for keys, I found a very aggressive envelope that was spitting fire. And after defeating it, now I can summon lost souls for myself, which is great.
No. I'm gay.
Next boss is a beehive. Nothing interesting here, just a guy with a massive headache. From him I get the power to command radioactive bees, but only 7, from time to time. Next dungeon was a trap. I had to rush through it, as I kept hurting my feelings every second, and the only way I could feel better about myself is by hurting others. At the end, I received flail for all that. Okay, and last dungeon with last boss, and this is... what the...
Holy... What is that? What the fuck is that?
This is one of the cheapest bosses in the game. Pretty much the same issue as the Gore Fist, but this time he also have one-hit kill attack. When he will do it? I don't know, when he feels like it. Oh, it looks like you're going to win? Well, I guess it's time to rip you apart. Reward for this guy is a hand shotgun. Defiler. I don't know, it's mediocre. Finally, you have a key, so you can approach the Black Gates to Islam.
What do you believe brings you here?
Speaking with him, you find out that Rhom, same as Earth, was a realm without the Guardian, so it also fell under the root as salt, and he saved the world the best way he could. He knows the way I can find Ford, but obviously he wouldn't help just of a pure heart. He wishes to get the heart of a Guardian from another world, so he could use it to revive Rhom.
It is the only true weapon we wield.
So, I've stepped into a portal and found myself in the swamp realm of course. It is very different from Earth and Rhom. It booms with life and movement. Probably even too much for my tastes. First boss here was this Battletoad. It does look slow at first, but it could rush or jump if needed, usually when you least expected it. Or it could just throw a huge hammer at you. Its weak spot is right between the butt cheeks. After a few penetrations, you got its heart. But that's not the one I want. From it, my cape somehow managed to make a crossbow. It is okay, but it's mostly for a bleeding build. After searching Swamp more, I found an Iskall Queen.
Come, outsider. We wish to speak with you.
Sort of. As if you see, Iskall is all but one. You can think of it as a single organism and all its subjects as an organs for this one single organism. So Queen acts more like a tongue for Iskall, and sometimes as a weapon. Or at least that's what she told me. Queen also wants the heart of a Guardian. So I guess Iskall is not afraid of Root, or it's simply not aware of it. In any case, she cannot help me to find Ford, so I proceed. After a while, I finally found my first Corsus dungeon. It is too narrow for a rifle, so I switched to shotgun, and it actually helped a lot with these huge guys. At the end of it, I found Musk Forge, and the boss of this area is really hard to deal with. Not because he's too strong or anything, he's actually quite weak, but he is constantly teleporting away from you and casting a corrosive damage on the place where he's standing, so healing mode is out of the question. But worst of all is that usually bosses get help from minor mobs. But not this time. This boss is guarded by 2 elite bots, and they constantly keep pushing you. Finally, I was able to defeat it using the Razor Stone I found earlier. As a reward, I crafted the Swarm mod, which is one of the best pure damage mode in the game. More swarm fighting, and finally I found the Guardian. War 2. but they're actually not that tough. Boom, boom.
Hit shot.
I decided to give the heart to Aslan, since he promised me 4, and Queen only promised some riches. And he kept his word by providing me with the stone key to Labyrinth. And a new scythe, with life still. But actually, it does sound cooler than it is. Stepping into a portal, it took me to Yaesha. Ancient world covered with trees and filled with ponds. And I mean not like dead jokes, but more like scuzzlebots. And they are not very friendly. Walking through this jungle, I stumbled upon some battle between pants. And one of them decided to attack me, hence picking a side for me in this conflict. After making a short work of them, the main scuzzlebot approached me. And I found out that Fort actually is on this planet, somewhere in the prison. So it looks like I'm almost there. More jungles with pants, flying lizards, walking lizards and others, and I found a village on trees. At the end of it, a Stormcaller was waiting for me. His attacks does look very epic, but they're not that powerful. And after defeating him and taking his Storm Crystal, MacLeod created for me a Stormcaller mod, which does sounds and looks awesome, but it's quite underwhelming. Damage is not that great, and it takes forever to charge it up. Next village boss was Skald and his flying lizard, who probably read too much about dragons and decided if he couldn't breathe fire, then at least he could throw some fireball on chains. The worst part about this fight is obviously fire, that can get you down really fast. After this village, I found a pound trader who can actually provide me with all exposition in the world if I would agree to waste some scrap and time to listen to her stories. I just bought a spear and was on my way. And finally, the last boss on Yaesha, and it's a giant monkey? He is constantly moving, jumping from one pillar to another and throwing projectiles at you. Which you would think is annoying, but you will learn how good it was once he decided to crawl down and hit you with his stick. And here we go, nothing stands between me and Ford now. At first, he is really surprised to see another human here, on Yaesha. But once he learns that I plan to stop the route, he tells me everything on how can I get to Ward 17, where I can find the main bad guy.
There's a mirror in Ward 13, not where the survivors live. That mirror is like a door to the other wards. Here, this key will let you unlock the computer connected to the mirror.
Right. But really, it's not the most outrageous thing that happened in this game so far. Going back to Ward, descending into a basement, realizing that electricity does not work, searching for fuse to install, and finally opening the door. Now here's the computer and mirror is finally activated. And here it is, the Ward 17. At the end, he will find him, Dreamer. Dreamer is a window to another worlds. Dreamer is a door that Root went through, and I need to stop him.
Once again, the children of the core think to change the inevitable. They do not see the truth, the futility of their actions. The children believe their lives worth living. The children are wrong. No matter how many times they rise, they will be destroyed. Their time is over.
Battle with Dreamer obviously consists of 2 phases. First, he's just flying around, occasionally shooting projectiles at you or energy waves. Pretty easy stuff. But in the second phase, he's pretty much immortal. From time to time he will send you into a nightmare, where you need to hold on for some time and kill as many roots as you could, while your health is constantly depleting. The more root soldiers you defeat, the more damage you inflict to Dreamer once you leave the nightmare. And here, I defeated the nightmare and closed the gateway for Root. The Earth is saved. This is the first playthrough. And I mean, the game is finished, but I've seen like 20% of all there is. There is so much more bosses, weapons, armor sets, modes, traits, and even the path I took could provide different results. For example, if during the fight with Ant I would destroy his legs first, I will get a different reward. Fighting the Harrow, I could have tried to get the spear from his back. Or I could not trade with Aslan and just force him to give me the key, skipping Corsa's realm entirely. I can go with adventure mode, and it will allow me to pick specific chapter I wish to revisit, and some bosses and events can only be seen in the adventure mode. So how do I consider when the game is finished? Is it when I defeated all bosses, or get all traits? In conclusion, this is a really good game. You can spend a lot of time with it, trying different builds, combinations of armor, traits, modes, weapons, and if that's not enough for you, you can always just start survival mode, just to see how many bosses you can take in a row, one after another. Later, they released the DLC. It includes the whole new realm, and it's really cold and filled with rats. Your main goal is, well, to find Subject 2923.
Find her. Only she can stop the creeping death.
Main boss this time is none other than Harsgard himself. Once defeated, you save the world again. But you cannot keep the girl.
Listen, I can't go back to Ward 13.
So what else can I add? This is a great game. You can pick it at any time, and you will never have the same adventure twice.